Business is the lifeblood of any civilization. From the old Roman civilizations to today, business and the amount of business, the concentration of business. Business means buying and selling. Business means working for a profit, which is not a sin. Profit is not a sin. It's a way to survive. It's a way to thrive. Any civilization where business was good was a better civilization where businesses in existence are very bad. So capitalism really is always the best system, except when the capitalism is corrupt, which means it favors the rich over the middle class and the poor. This is the kind of capitalism we have in the Western civilization. It is a capitalism that is controlled by the wealthy to take the poor for a ride. Capitalism does not serve the middle class. Capitalism does not serve the poor. Capitalism uses the middle class for working purposes. It doesn't address the quality of life issues of the middle class or of the poor. Capitalism is always controlled by the wealthy, which are about 5% of the population, which means 95% of the population do not really benefit from capitalism. All the communist countries, most of the communist countries have failed and have turned to capitalism as a solution to their economic problems. Because it turns out that poverty doesn't work. Communism is finally understanding that. Since 1980, and then Xiaoping in China, wealth has been declared in China to be good. Now China is producing more millionaires and more billionaires than any other country because of that. The president of China himself is worth in the billions of dollars of net worth. That's not Mao Zedong. Communism has undergone a serious transformation since the fall of Russian communism. Cuban communism has failed. Chinese communism has also failed. They're saving face by keeping up bullshit communist ideals when in the reality of the situation in China, China is becoming capitalist. Private enterprise is very important to a growing business and a growing wealth in a civilization, because the individual who works very hard, who has great ideas, and who can build a business can become wealthy and can reap the rewards of his or her work. Whereas in the old communist system, wealth was considered a sin. During this coronavirus crisis, we can understand how business is the lifeblood of a civilization. When business comes to a standstill, as it has through the coronavirus for 2 or 3 months, life is going back to the Stone Age. It is the businesses that make life flourish. Businesses employ people who carry home a paycheck. A paycheck buys new goods, develops new businesses, improves the enjoyment of life. Without work, without business, life becomes a sloth, sick. It becomes alcoholic and depressed. So an improved business, an increased business in any country always brings the good. These are not Christian values, and these are not biblical values. We have books of law and books of truth which have a hatred for business and a hatred for money, which are two forces of paradise on earth. In the old communist system, there were state-run businesses and state-run enterprises, which means monopolies. Monopolies are a way for life to remain backwards. It is the competition between businesses. For example, competition between banks give you better credit cards and better rewards. If there's only one bank, it's going to be a sloth. It's going to be corrupt. when there's only one internet company, when there's only one phone company, you can rest assured that it's not going to be run well and the prices are going to be inflated. So therefore, monopolies are against the progress of life. It's against business. It's against the flourishing of life. We need competition. But having said that, having established that capitalism is the way to have a flourishing society and a better business and a better capitalism gives a better life. It's not a fluke that the United States has one of the highest qualities of life because of business. But the capitalism must serve the interests of the middle class and the poor, which comprise 95% of the people. Therefore, a government which is supposed to serve the majority of the people or all of the people cannot concentrate on the interests of the rich alone, which it usually does. The rich are historically very smart. They know how to pick candidates for their own benefits. They know how to throw their own candidates into the ring for politics. You have to be rich to be a politician. You can't be poor and represent 95% of the people and go into politics very easily because you don't have the money for your elections. You don't have the money to get known. This is a problem with democracy. The majority of the people cannot get their representatives. The minority of the people, the wealthy, the 5%, are always able to get their candidates. If the government was dedicated to the poor and the middle class, their first agenda would be the price of rent, the price of mortgage, the price of survival, basically, which is very expensive and getting even more expensive. Why is it that governments allow for homes and apartments and condominiums that are so expensive, you need to win a lottery to get one? You need 25 years to pay a house off. You need 5 years to pay off a car. Where is the war? Where is the fight of the government to reduce these prices? It's non-existent. The government actually sides with the home builders. The government sides with the car industry instead of fighting it because of the cost of the cars. We have a government that is obviously from the side of the rich and don't give a shit about the poor and the middle class. And that's what has to change. And that is capitalism, but it is a capitalism that serves the people and that fights the thieveries that exist in the rich. And that kind of government is the kind of capitalism that we need. In 500 years, the generations of humans that exist then will laugh at us for the price of homes and the price of cars and the price of survival, which has never been fought by government. Government actually increases the price of survival, taxes instead of government enterprises. There are very few government enterprises. Government can become a gigantic money-making machine of its own. But it doesn't want to do that. It rather collect taxes from people who have basically are in debt. I mean, China is now on a road to capitalism. It has a veil of old communism to keep face. You know, the Chinese have this quality of keeping the face of communism alive, even though communism is being destroyed. The capitalism is allowed. The millionaires and the billionaires and all the big enterprises are allowed, except you can't show the luxury. You can't ride around in a Rolls Royce and you can't have a golden palace. You can't show your wealth, but you can make your wealth. It's a hypocrisy. Chinese communism is a hypocrisy. Or a country, an area of land, can thrive if private enterprise is allowed to thrive. The more rules, the more laws, the less we can borrow money to make a business, the less the business. There are countries who fight business like the plague. They're offended at people making money, which is exactly what brings paradise. The more people make money, the more they open businesses, the more people get employed, the more people go home with a paycheck that they will spend into the economy, and the more the economy will grow. Therefore, business is an asset. Business is a blessing. Business is not a plague. We have to get rid of this type of creed that is against business and against money. We can fight greed in business. Right? You can fight corruption in business, but not business itself, because business is the lifeblood of any civilization.